Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy Holston. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the director of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce of Illinois. And I'm super excited to have all of you here with us today as we kick off our 2021 LatinX Affinity Network. Again, I am the director of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce and super excited to have you with us today. If you have not already, be sure to get your jam on in the chat box. Let us know your name, your company name, let us know your pronouns as well. Also, be sure to drop your LinkedIn page or your website so we can all stay in touch with each other after this event ends. You are more than welcome to turn your videos on. We love to see all those great smiling faces and reactions as you enjoy all the great insight from our panelists, but is definitely not required. We do ask that you keep yourself on mute until we give you the opportunity to speak or be able to ask questions once we get to that point. If you're joining us for the first time, our mission at the LGBT Chamber of Commerce is to promote economic opportunities for the LGBTQ community by being an advocate and resource for all member businesses that encourage equality. Our members include Fortune 500 companies, small businesses, nonprofits, and governments. As a chamber, our resources include access to networking, marketing, professional development, and advocacy, as well as access to the LGBT Business Enterprise Certification. Today, we have nearly 300 members and serve as the voice for nearly 50,000 LGBTQ business owners across Illinois. If you are looking for a network to join and to grow your business, we'd love to have you as a part of ours. This year is also our 25th anniversary, so huge thank you to all of our members, partners, and stakeholders who have helped us to be able to get to this point. We'd like to give a huge thank you to our sponsors and 25th anniversary partners, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, Time Zone 1, and Events with a K. Our members include a diverse range of industries from healthcare, finance, insurance, communications and media, and a variety of other dynamic services and industries. If you're, again, looking for a network to join, to be able to network with these awesome LGBTQ and ally-owned businesses, we invite you to join our network. And of course, we love to give a huge shout out to our members who are here with us today, including our Rainbow and Platinum level members. And then again, if you are an LGBTQ owned business, and if you are willing to partner with us in helping you access the LGBT Business Enterprise Certification, we'd also love to be a partner in connecting with these Fortune 500 companies headquartered here in Illinois. These companies are eager to do business with you as an LGBTQ and diverse owned business. So please reach out to us and let us provide you with more information on how to access the certification and how to build relationships with these businesses to provide your products and services. We are now at our final event at the end of the month, but as you can see, the Chamber hosts a variety of events throughout the year. I'll send you all some information in our wrap-up email, but we do have a number of events coming up for the month of April. On April 8th, if you do work for a corporate company or even a small company and you're wanting to work on engagement opportunities for your employees, we encourage you to join us on April 8th for our Employee Resource Group Spring Roundtable. We have a half day of conversations and networking opportunities to help you collaborate and partner with other Pride employee resource groups and other allied groups as well. On April 13th is when we host our monthly evening Mix and Mingle. So this is our monthly premier event for networking and making business connections. This is also where we are monthly celebrating our 25th anniversary. So on April 13th, join us as we come together with members throughout our history as they talk about why they've joined our network. On the 19th of April, if you are like myself and many others, COVID was not so fun for your body. So we are super excited to partner with UFC Gym, one of our local members, to provide a monthly group fitness class at no cost. You can join in person, following their guidelines, or even online. So I'll be there on April 19th at 10 a.m. and hope to see you there. And then 2 more events on the 22nd. We also have a Young Professionals Network group called our Future Leaders and Entrepreneurs Exchange, where we'll come together on the 22nd to participate in a personality assessment and to discuss inclusive leadership. Then finally, on the 29th, we will have our monthly Business Empowered workshop, where we'll be discussing pricing to bid. So if you are a business owner actively bidding to win contracts, or just trying to make sure that you have a competitive price, I hope that you will join us on the 29th for that conversation with the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago. So I look forward to seeing you there. So what are we doing here today? As I mentioned, we are here today to finally kick off our 2021 LatinX Affinity Network group. At the Chamber, we actually have 4 Affinity Network groups: Latinx, Black, Women, as well as our Young Professionals Flex program. Each of these groups comes together quarterly throughout the year for professional development and networking opportunities. This year, our Latinx, Black, and Women Affinity Networking groups will all be discussing mentorship, access to capital, advocacy, and we'll be hosting a celebration event to recognize and honor LGBTQ business owners at the intersections of these communities. So I hope that you will join us for the rest of the year at all these affinity groups as we talk about the rest of these discussions. So with that, I'm excited to dive into today's conversation. I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more about our panelists, but I'm excited to read some short bio information to help you get to know them a little bit more. For our panelists, I'm excited to have with us first, Patricia Moulton. Patricia serves as the president and CEO for Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, where she leads strategy, fundraising, and development, professional leadership programs, and expanding organizational reach on a national scale. Patricia strives to engage experienced professionals as mentors and advisors to create a multi-generational network to support Latinx career growth. Upon taking this leadership role, Patricia increased operating budget by 40% in less than 2 years and nearly 70% in less than 3 years. Kudos to you. I know how difficult and how challenging that can be. In addition, she helped to increase membership from 35,000 to 77,000, along with strengthening program processes and staff capacity. Patricia is a sought out speaker, having presented at various conferences and for top corporations. So kudos to us for scoring Patricia here with us today. In addition, we're joined by Alfonso. Alfonso is the founder of HispanicPro, the Hispanic Professional Network. HispanicPro is the largest network of Latino professionals in the state of Illinois and Wisconsin. HispanicPro exists to promote business networking and employment opportunities for diverse professionals. With over 20 years of experience in sales, marketing, and social media, Alfonso is a highly visible advocate for entrepreneurship, corporate diversity, and inclusion, and a proud supporter of some of Chicago's most prominent philanthropic organizations. In addition to serving as a business mentor, Alfonso is the vice chairman of diversity and inclusion for the Chicago chapter of SCORE. And I'm sure we'll learn more about SCORE in today's conversation. So excited to have you with us today as well, Alfonso. And then as our final panelist, excited to have with us David Munar. David has devoted his entire professional career to building comprehensive systems of care and prevention that meet the needs of vulnerable populations. Since joining Howard Brown Health in 2014 as its president and CEO, Munar has focused on ensuring the delivery of excellent health and wellness services to Howard Brown's patients' populations, strengthening finances and operations, and positioning the organization for long-term sustainability and growth. Under his leadership, Howard Brown has expanded to include more than 10 health clinics from Inglewood to Rogers Park, serving more than 34,000 people annually. His advocacy work has earned several accolades, including being named a champion of change by the White House in 2011. In 2007, he helped launch the Coalition for a National AIDS Strategy, which led to the National HIV/AIDS Strategy unveiled by President Obama in July of 2010. So as you can see, we have a dynamic group of panelists providing a wealth of experience leading organizations and providing next level expertise in growing our next generation of businesses. So to take all this wisdom out and to get it shared with us, I'm excited to have with us Jazmin serving as our moderator. Jazmin is a queer first-generation Mexican American dedicated to expanding leadership opportunities for LGBTQ+ and Latinx professionals. Professionally, Jazmin has extensive experience in fundraising and grant making specific to entrepreneurship, small business expansion, jobs, skills, and neighborhood revitalization. She holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of San Diego and is the national vice president of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute Alumni Association and the nonprofit and social impact leader for the Baumhart Center at Loyola Kunlun School of Business. Jazmin is also an alumnus of the Emerging Leaders Program with Chicago Women in Philanthropy and is now a programs committee member. So huge, huge, huge. I hope that you are standing up on your seat, clapping for all these people, eager with pen and pencil to take all the great wisdom that they have about elevating your career, growing relationships with mentors, and how to be a proper mentee. I know that's something that I've struggled with in my own career. So I'm excited to learn how to be a better mentor to others and how to better tap into those I've identified as mentors in my life. So Jazmin, I'm excited to turn it over to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was an incredible introduction. And I mean, I have to say, just listening to all of my background in that way and my credentials, I know I didn't get here in any way, shape, or form without the mentors that have influenced me in my life. And I think more recently, it has been, especially through the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, having queer leaders that are part of the Alumni Association has been incredibly important because it's empowered me to be fine and okay entering a space as a queer identifying woman and being okay with that and feeling empowered again in my own skin. And so I know that's been very important. So as soon as Jeremy asked me to host this conversation, I'm like, yes, let's do it. I'm really eager to talk about it. And so I know many of you, we've already heard the incredible bios and backgrounds of our panelists here today. So I want to go ahead and start the conversation in terms of mentorship, for our panelists to talk about, if there's one thing that was missed from there that you want to share it with the audience, but then also share with us any professional organizations that you might be part of that have helped you in your journey, either before, from where you are now or at this current moment. So we can start off with Patricia.
Sure. Thank you for the kind introduction and welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening. As you know, other parts of my background is I am Latina. I am the daughter of immigrants. I also identify as Mexican American, but I'm also first generation, having obtained and earned a college education in my family, and also first generation, I would say, the nonprofit executive space. And I'm also an LGBTQ plus, ally, and I'm happy to be here to support. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we as us as an organization have been doing in terms of embracing intersectional identities. I serve in this role as president and CEO for a national nonprofit, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, or ASE, which is national in scope, founded in 1982, headquartered in Chicago. And the mission then continues to be the mission we uphold today, which is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latinx talent through 3 areas of work. One is talent acquisition programs and services, where we're actively connecting our employer partners to anywhere from intern, entry level, to as of late, senior executive level talent. 2 is through pipeline and leadership development trainings and programs, starting as young as the high school level to mid-level professionals. And 3 is thought leadership and branding. So opportunities, events where we're actively sharing best practices, whether it be our Chief Diversity Officer Roundtable, Executive Leadership Tour, events throughout the year to really feature and share individuals that support the mission. My background comes from not only co-founding a nonprofit with local government as an undergrad, but working in corporate utilities to working in higher education, and circling back to nonprofit in 2010, where I started at Asset as a programs director, evolved to leading more of our fundraising and strategy to as president and CEO for now 6 years. And most recently with my co-founders, Juan Carlos Avila and Olga Camargo, launched a fintech startup to help specifically close the wealth gap that Latinas currently face. And so diverse background there, but one thing that I would say in terms of professional associations, I belong to ASE. You all are welcome to be part of the ASE familia. And this network has enabled me to personally grow and develop professionally. But also in addition to this organization, I'm also part of Him for Her. So this is an organization that helps get more women on corporate boards. It is an invite only. So if you are interested in learning more and being part of this specific organization, I'm happy to facilitate that introduction. And that's, more of a longer term. I serve on nonprofit boards. I'm on a couple commissions and other boards, but I want to be able to be part of this circle to network in here. As we all know, there's a need for more women, people of color, diverse representation on corporate and venture boards as well. The other organization that I'm also a part of is Leadership Greater Chicago. So I am a fellow since 2019. And I often tap into that network and that professional network to ask for advice and for resources and connect through mentors or even mentees through that organization. So those are just a few, yeah, thank you again for the invitation to be here.
Gracias, Patricia. Appreciate that. We can go to Alfonso next. And then also, if there's opportunities, with your respective organizations, I know more for you, Patricia and Alfonso, to share with the group, how they can get in contact with the organization and how it best serves, our business leaders here in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So my name is Alfonso Barrera. I have been living in the city of Chicago for the last 23 years. So I'm originally from Mckeon, Illinois. And I found my way to Chicago by ways of DePaul University. So I have, 20 some years of experience in sales and marketing. Spent, 12 years working for a semiconductor manufacturer, part of it in Mexico, and then the other part here in the United States. And then after that, transitioned to working for an outdoor lifestyle products company, which I was there for 10 years, and that afforded me the opportunity to create and start building HispanicPro to the level that it is now. So HispanicPro has grown into a large professional networking organization, and has evolved from doing face-to-face business networking to now doing virtual events for professionals to connect. Because of the pandemic last year, we started off with doing in-person events, and actually when the whole pandemic situation went down, we had actually produced 3 events in Dallas with Women's Leadership Live, SMU, and City, and then came back to Chicago, produced an event in Milwaukee, and then before we knew it, the hard lockdown happened, and so but from there ended up producing 80 virtual events for last year. So adopting the whole online model of engaging with our reach. We reach over 100,000 business professionals through our email newsletter, our social media reach. So proud to have great partnerships with some amazing organizations. ASA is one of them, and having alliances across the country. I would say one of the for me, one of the shining pearls, I would say, in regards to this pandemic, which it's hard to find a positive, right? It's something that that so many lives have been lost, is that we have now a pretty we can say that we're a national organization in regards to our spread of people that engage with HispanicPro, people that we reach on the East and the West Coast. So, and even today we had a webinar with over 200 attendees, and we had quite a bit of attendees that were not from the United States. So they were from Brazil, from Spain, from Canada, and it's amazing because we focus on diversity and inclusion and how it affects ERGs, but really how it affects business professionals, and we always want to be growing in what we do professionally. And so it's an important topic, and it's become more important with the current events that have happened and the lives that have been lost because of racism and things that really you would think that we don't have to deal with anymore, but we do. And it's there, it's prevalent, and we have to face it. And there's just companies that are, the companies that do have the best interests in mind of people that are of color, people that are different, that are ageism, or from all kinds of different things that make a difference, but make us different, but at the same time it makes us who we are, and it makes us unique. And so I've dedicated HispanicPro for the last 15 years, and bringing those those things that are that make us different and unique, but bringing them together by the in-person events that we produce. And also what I do as well is that the last 2 years I've been the chair of diversity and inclusion for SCORE. So SCORE is a premier national organization for business mentorship. So we here in Chicago, it's the third largest chapter in the United States. So it's a federal non-for-profit, and we assist in helping small businesses, be created or hit or go to the next level. So I'm very proud of that position. I've streamlined all my involvements in regards to what I do with extracurricular time, the free time that I really have, the small precious time that I do have to focus on SCORE, because the impact that SCORE does and that it makes in the lives of small business owners, it's so incredible. And we share a great relationship with with Jerome and the chamber. And so we actually have mentors that mentor out of the office there, or well now virtually, but we will get back to doing in-person mentoring. So happy to be representing also SCORE, and and continuing the conversation and see how I can be of service to the participants, and how I can be of service through HispanicPro, but also through SCORE.
Thank you so much, Alfonso, for that. David, if you can wrap us up on this question, but I know, your organization is obviously not an association and doesn't serve the community in that way. So if you could probably share a program or initiative that serves our community in that way.
Sure. Thanks, Jazmin and Jerome and colleagues for this opportunity. I think this is a topic where I'm going to learn more than I contribute. I'll just put that up front. I really appreciated the backgrounds for each of our panelists, so thank you. Just briefly, my parents in Hermana are from Colombia, South America, immigrated in the 60s. I'm first generation US, so Colombian American. And my whole career has been in the nonprofit sector. So I worked at the AIDS Foundation of Chicago for 23 years and have been at the helm at Howard Brown Health, which is federally qualified health center focused on the health and wellness of the LGBT community, as well as others in the neighborhood since 2014. And the mentorship question is really profound. I mean, I think thinking back on my career, I didn't enjoy formal mentorship. I received a lot of, made a lot of great contacts along the way. And through the nonprofit sector, through AIDS advocacy and LGBT advocacy. I will say that my former boss and dear friend at AIDS Foundation Chicago, Mark Ishag, was an incredible mentor, informally, not through a formal process, but just believed in me, believed in my potential, and made space for me in different rooms where I had no business being in. You know, I had nothing substantive to contribute, but I was allowed to be in the room and observe and listen and learn. And that made a world of difference. For me, some of the early opportunities came from my personal passions. I got involved in the 90s with ALMA Chicago, the Chicago LGBT Latino organization. And there just found, you know, great companionship and great friends and people that were trying to come, you know, really come to terms with their gender or sexual orientation, or in some cases, reconnect with their Latino roots and to give back. And so that was a great, you know, informal opportunity to network with other people and really helped shape me in my work today. So that was a meaningful way to connect with others. And the other memory I just have, which is, you know, I'm so encouraged, Jazmin, to hear that you encountered queer leadership through the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, something that was, you know, besides Alma, really I didn't encounter. And I remember early in my career being so impressed by Jose Lopez at the Puerto Rican Cultural Center because he was the first male Latino adult who knew me as a gay man and accepted me as a gay man. We went to the Puerto Rican Cultural Center early on in the 90s and asked for space for Alma events. And I felt no judgment, no acceptance from him. And that was rare. And I hope that's changing now for folks, but certainly then it was really an unusual situation. So so for our LGBTQ allies, don't underestimate the power you have to create space and to be encouraging for folks to be their whole person, to be their whole self. The last thing I'll say, I'm in a sector between healthcare and LGBT rights and AIDS advocacy and LGBT advocacy, where there's a lot of opportunities to meet people and to network. So that's been really a rich resource. And that, Howard Brown is a big organization, and we are currently, every year we have a board recruitment cycle, and we're closing our call for candidates this week. So I want to just put a plug in there. If anybody's interested in learning more about board membership at Howard Brown, to reach out to me. But those kinds of opportunities have been great to meet folks, to have allies, and to grow professionally.
Thank you for sharing that, David. I mean, that I will say you actually highlighted something super important within your story. What I've shared about CHCI, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, this has been within the last 2 years. It's very, very true that I came out probably like 5 years ago when I moved to DC. And I mean, that just, like, as many of you probably know, has a role in, our stories. But yeah, this has been in the last 2 years, barely. And the organization has been around for over 40 years that we've had queer leadership. And so now actually, yeah, everyone on the executive board, except for one person, is queer identifying. So it's very monumental for where, kind of we're going, I think, as a community as well. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, David. Definitely contributing a lot to the conversation, but it's actually a great segue to what I want Patricia and Alfonso to kind of talk about in the next question, which is, about your personal experiences. Have you had a mentor, and if so, who was it, and then their impact on your professional growth? And we can go maybe with Alfonso first.
Sure. I could say that I had two mentors growing up. One of them was my dad. And, my dad was a business owner, and learning learning how to make money, and from, through hard work. And he owned the landscaping company that really kind of um, changed the world for me, when everyone was, looking towards, careers. And obviously I also wanted to go to school. It wasn't the first thing that I wanted to do, um because I really did love making money. I think I was the only high schooler that was walking around with $500 in their pocket, because I was just it was a great feeling. But also to then turn 18 and have body aches and have that kind of those issues when you're that young. Yeah, I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. So uh and then so then came DePaul, and then I ended up, someone that I was working for became also a mentor of mine. His family was the founder of a Fortune 500 company. And So he's still informally a mentor of mine today, even though they have sold their corporation, the majority, their stake in the company. And I learned a lot about business, and when it comes to international scope, and just the seeing things in big picture form. That happened because of my mentorship uh with this person. But definitely it shaped my life. And I think I wouldn't be a business owner now if it wasn't because of those two individuals, that were my who I learned from, lessons, from things that they did, whether the mistakes or achievements. You learn from both, right? And if there is a mistake, it's the lesson that you learn from that, and then move forward. um and so from seeing from the things that my dad did, that would be like this, from a small scale. Even though growing up, to me, it was big, right? Because I was young. But then watching um someone who was the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, uh and running a company that did billions of dollars worth of sales, seeing how that operation, it was definitely a unique experience. And so yeah, so mentorship has played a big part of my life. And that's also why I'm involved with SCORE, the Chicago chapter of SCORE, because it is a business mentoring organization. And it's we have mentors that they walk the walk. So these are people who are business owners, people who have, we have quite a bit of mentors that are the true meaning of a serial entrepreneur. Someone who started a business, grew it, sold it, started another business. So it's incredible. We have colonels, that captains of industry, really people that really are C-level executives, retired, are people that mentor. There are business mentors for the Chicago chapter. And I think that's incredible, because you're getting first class, business mentorship and knowledge. And if you live in an urban environment, really we accept all. So you can be mentored by someone who ran $1 billion company. And as long as what you want to do in business, or your business, whatever you're selling or your service you're providing, matches up with what a particular mentor has an expertise in, we're going to match you up. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud to carry the message of diversity and inclusion for the organization. Under our executive director Hannah Fernandez, the organization has truly changed from being majority white male to now being completely different, which is really representative of the city of Chicago. And it looks like an equal representation of the city of Chicago, but we're always striving to make it look more like the people that live here in the city. And we want everyone who wants to start a business to succeed. And so we work closely with the city of Chicago, with World Business Chicago. So just to everything that could be possible to connect people with the resources, so that when they do make a go at it of starting a business, that that they succeed.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. So I was just looking out the window and there was like some snow rain happening for a moment. I'm in Chicago. I was like, is this supposed to happen today? I want to add to what Alfonso mentioned regarding the mentorship. I think it's important also to understand that there's different types of mentorship, right? And I know we'll probably dig deeper in terms of that, but also to understand that there's both informal and formal mentorship opportunities. And I have to say, and I consider myself an avid learner, and I still have so much more that I continue to achieve in my own career. But I wouldn't have gotten to or continued to get to where I'm going without mentors. And with ASE, for example, I've had informal mentors, peer mentors, but I'll share a specific example with what benefit a mentor has had on my career. One is leveraging the mentorship relationship to bounce ideas, but also to get their feedback, right? And one thing that I was doing earlier on in my career, if I was presenting formal presentations, the way I would showcase my nervousness without knowing, because I wasn't aware, was through humor, through laughing, right? So, right now I'm throwing some humor out there. But during some formal meetings, or depending on which C-suite executive I was dealing with, I had to adapt to their style or to the formality in order to influence and to get my point across. And so that's something one of my mentors made me aware of through that mentoring relationship, in terms of knowing something that I didn't know. And so we must rely on our mentors to be honest with us and give us honest feedback that helps us continue to grow and evolve in our careers. And then there's another type of, I say, like mentorship 2.0, which you may have heard of the term sponsorship, right? Being that it's that mentor that's gotten to that next level, that is talking about you, is advocating for you when you're not in the room, right? So whether it be a board meeting, whether it be an informal conversation. And so it was October 2014 when, at the time, I was appointed interim CEO by the board of directors for ASE. And, we all get that little voice in our heads that says, we're not ready enough, we don't have enough experience, maybe I need to. And of course I had it at that time, but as I consulted with my mentors, advisors, I received a lot of encouragement and strategic pointers in terms of how I can go about to formally go through the process to get to the role, right, as the formal president and CEO. But something that happened behind the scenes were mentors that became the 2.0 mentors, or sponsors, so to speak, were vouching for me behind closed doors, having conversations with board of directors, not only saying that they were going to support me, but also saying that, Patricia is the person for this role. And so those are two specific examples, not only making me a mentorship relationship, have made me aware of some perhaps areas of opportunity that I need to improve on, but also then taking it to that next level where it becomes that advocate and that sponsor when I'm not around for opportunities, for roles and things like that.
Thank you for that, Patricia. For your, David, I want to switch the question a little bit more towards, because you highlighted something in your first part of the story, and it was, how our allies can encourage us to be our authentic selves. So with that, can you share with us perhaps, 2 qualities that you think when we're searching for a mentor, they should have?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I've had I've had informal mentorship, like I said, from a former colleague and boss who's now a dear friend. But I have been approached by different students and individuals, and did serve as a formal mentor through the Obama Foundation to a student from China who was doing LGBT organizing work there. So that was really interesting. And I think that the things that I appreciate when I'm approached for, well, one, I appreciate someone that respects my time. So somebody that's done the homework, has gone online, knows what Halbrand is, has read about the organization, read about me, is requesting time with me, but is not requesting time to learn about something that they could learn on their own. So that's one. And then, somebody that has, a really clear set of questions or needs, actual advice, and is doing the work, instead of like, is not looking for a magic bullet. Like, I want to be a CEO of a big nonprofit. What should I do? Well, I don't know. Ask a better question. I mean, I'm not trying to be snarky, but, somebody who genuinely, is showing up as much as they're asking me to show up. And then on, I think for allies, I think, having the space, I think somebody who, I mean, particularly with Latino networking, I'll say it's very family oriented, I was married this year. When were you married? Like, how many kids do you have? And so, I think creating space for, to say, do you live alone? Do you have a family? Do you have, kind of in some ways showing appreciation for different ways that we can create our lives, and some of this is very subconscious, but you get the feeling of like, oh, this room is, very heteronormative, and that, that's inhibiting, or the opposite, like, this is a place where I can actually be myself and I'll be accepted. And so I think that goes a long way.
Thanks so much, David. Appreciate that. Patricia, Alfonso, do you have one quality that maybe we missed here in the conversation?
I would say David did an amazing job. I love everything that he said regarding, right, coming prepared. I think looking for a mentor is something that you aspire to become, or whether it's a specific industry, specific role. And so I think being able to see yourself in that individual's shoes. And I think the identity piece is so critical, right? I think when we're in spaces that are dominant, who we are, right? Whether it's predominantly white spaces, whether it's predominantly, hetero, as David mentioned, I think sometimes we feel left out, right? And so it is critical, I think, for all of us to have a mentor that we can identify that has similar identities that we each represent, because that's empowering and that's inspirational.
Yeah, when it comes to, I think when I said that my dad was my mentor, and and my mentor later on in life, I didn't really know that those were mentors. It wasn't until I understood what that concept was, because mentorship is not in the Latin culture, and it's not it is, but it's not perceived as something good. Usually if you have a padrino, it's someone who helps you out, right? Helps you out of bad situations, or something that you got yourself into, or helped you achieve something that you probably didn't achieve with your hard work. And a lot of that happens here, right? The word for it is nepotism. But those things are not looked at in a good light in Latin cultures. And I think that you got to use everything that you have at your disposal. As long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're not, you have to. I mean, you have to, because especially if you're a minority, you already have, very few things that are going for you. In regards to unconscious bias and how you're being perceived. It's real. It's real. People might try to dismiss it, but producing what we do with HispanicPro and being in daily interactions with recruiters and people that are decision makers within their corporations, and that unconscious bias does exist, and they're always trying to attack it, right? In regards to how do we get more minorities into our company, and now beyond getting them into the company, then how do we retain them? So definitely, kind of to what Patricia said is identifying someone who you want to walk in their shoes, because I think that definitely that helps you hone in and definitely narrow in regards to the scope of what that person can do for you, but not only that, but also what you can do for that person. It has to be a mutual benefiting proposition. And many students think that because usually you start seeking out mentors when you're a student. And there's so many, we do have to do a self-analysis, because there's things that we think that we can't we can't provide for someone that we're asking for help, but there's definitely things that we can do that it's an equal exchange. And so students know more than they think. And so definitely, I think that seeking a mentor, we shouldn't feel that, we should, that we haven't achieved enough, we haven't accomplished enough. There's things there. And it's really about sometimes also just fighting the fear, because we're afraid to talk to someone that knows more than we do, that has done more than we have, but they're just like you and me, and you shouldn't be, we shouldn't be afraid to interact with people that are different than us, because we're a lot of, when you think about it, and once people start opening up, we're a lot alike. We really do want the same things in life. We care about the same things, and so yeah, get it really, the whole imposter syndrome and all of that. It's real, and it's learning how to get over it, and then and march on, and sometimes kind of just walk right into the fear, right, and knowing that we're gonna be okay in the other end. And sometimes we're gonna get a no, but a no may just mean no right now. It doesn't mean no into the future. So.
That's so true. Thank you, Alfonso. And I agree with that. I definitely have operated my professional career in that way where, we're all the same. Yes, I definitely have respect for folks who are in executive positions, but I think, just approaching it on like they were once in my shoes, it has definitely helped me out. And so with that, I actually want to get y'all's advice, and we're going to go ahead and start with David first, because I feel like he had some really good nuggets in the previous question. But for some of us, it's difficult to make the difficult part, is definitely making that ask, right? So how would you recommend someone goes about asking a senior executive to be their mentor?
That's a great question. I mean, I think I actually would start with asking for an informational meeting. So I think people, busy people, and I'll use I statements. I have to guard my time. There's just a billion things. Jerome knows this. I probably so when somebody says, I have one request, an informational interview, and this is what I'm, if I could have 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, and if we could meet, and then really respect that, really hold to that. It's like dating. That's actually the best, because I can commit to that. I can commit to that increment of time. And then it's an opportunity for the individual to find out if I'm of any help to them. And then, but I will say that mentorship is gratifying. And so I want to help, I want to help people flourish. I want to help people, get involved in the nonprofit sector. So I think it starts with that one, and then, to be respectful and say, this was great. Can I follow up with you in a month or 2 months? Would that be okay? I'm working on this. Can I come back to you when I have more information and check in with you and see if you have other advice? So I think you can work yourself into a mentorship relationship without actually putting a lot of pressure on it. And I think that's a healthy way. It's healthy for both parties, because the person that you're pursuing might not be the person that you need to guide your career. And you don't want to overwhelm anybody that doesn't know you and you don't know them.
That's so true. Thank you, David. Patricia, would you like to add anything to that? I feel like there's probably tons of people asking you to be their mentor. So any experiences you might have had as well that have probably, yielded fruitful results?
Yeah, there's a quote by Oprah that I ran into the other day. It's like, you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. And to your point, Jazmin, especially being from, I grew up in a traditional, strict Mexican household. And it was kind of the culture that the calladita más bonita, which means the quieter you are, the more beautiful you are, but also, and strong respect for authority. And then we have traditionally, it's a general value that we as the Latinx community has, is humility, right? And while it's a beautiful value and modesty, right? It's a beautiful value that we have as a community. It's being comfortable and getting ourselves comfortable to adapt, not change who we are, because at the end of the day, we always want to be true to who we are and authentic leaders, but understanding this is my big dream. This is my big goal. And if this is the person I need to connect with, I need to build up the courage to ask, to reach out, to make that phone call. But behind all of that, what helps us become more courageous is doing the homework, right? And so David mentioned a lot of this. One is, are you doing your research in terms of what type of mentor? What are your goals? Like, who is it? And once you know what the goals are and why you want the mentor, then be strategic and build that list, right? Because they're going to come, like, Alfonso mentioned, you're going to have some no's, right? And we have to be okay and go to the next one, right? So build that list and reach out for the cafecito, 15-minute call or an outreach. We have LinkedIn at our disposal. You leverage LinkedIn as if there's folks on there that can be that mentor. And then last, but definitely not least, is ensuring that you are being consistent and that you're following up, right? Either, saying thank you for your time, checking in, because this mentor could be, for the most part, a really busy individual. And so if you're taking it upon yourself to check in, to follow up, there's been sometimes, like, perhaps, an email got lost because I'm prioritizing my day-to-day work, and the mentor followed up, a couple days later. I'm like, thank you, because I just totally missed it. So don't take those things personal if you're not hearing back, but be consistent and follow up.
Thank you, Patricia. Alfonso?
Yeah, I would say do your preparation, just like Patricia and David said. But I would also say, take a hard look at how people are going to perceive you. And you have to, the things that are out there now, right, with social media, it has to be tight. I have to see that, because you're asking of me an investment of time. And not only that, but also to provide you with resources that I probably would never normally wouldn't do. So if I'm being asked of that, don't do goofball things on social media. Don't do things that will turn me off, that would say, this person they don't have a good judge of character. They make decisions that are, irrational, because I'm not going to informally, an email from me to someone is an informal endorsement of that person by me. So, and that's, that's how it is. And I wouldn't want to do that if I know that you're screwing around, you're screwing off and doing things that are not aligned with the things that you want to do in life. And being professional, you have to at all times. And there's obviously there's ways to do that. And the thing is, with social media, is once it's out there, it's hard to erase it. So say no to certain things that may not be good for the things that you want to accomplish. And so I say no a lot more than I say yes. And that's something that I don't care what that person thinks of me, but if they get a no from me, but I know how valuable my time is, and I respect that quite a bit. And if you're coming at me and asking me for help, or even to be a mentor, and I have been a mentor to quite a bit of people in a very short period of time, because for me, I've probably could say in the last 15 years, I've connected over 100 people personally with jobs. And really, it really is about who you know and who knows you. More importantly, it's who knows you, because that's how I'm going to make a judgment call on you and see, and what I've seen. And that kind of, I've learned that also from sales in regards to, I can fish out the bad people pretty quickly. And I know the tools and the resources that I have at my disposal to do that. But if I see that you're an exceptional person and you just need that extra push to get you to the next level, I'm gonna do it, because then I thrive off of that. I love connecting people to something that's gonna be life changing for them. There's no bigger high for me in life than to do that for folks, and I gladly do it. And I gladly do it. And it is an investment of time, but I love doing that, because it's for, I think part of what I do with HispanicPro is that I feel fortunate to have this position that I've met quite a bit of people that can make those type of changes for people in their lives. So through business mentorship, or just that opportunity that person needs to, maybe get, $500,000, $1 million contract. And especially now with my involvement with SCORE, I those opportunities have opened up even more, where I can make those connections. But I have to also do that. I also have to know that you're doing the hard work on your end.
Thank you for that, Alfonso. I'm going to go ahead and pivot a little bit on this mentorship question. And we'll probably start with David on this one. What are your thoughts about reverse mentoring? We live in a very interesting time right now. And so what are some tips? I know all of us, work with LGBTQ professionals. So what are some tips that you can offer young LGBTQ professionals as they mentor older adults about being more inclusive?
Wow, that's a great question. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think, I really appreciate what Alfonso and Patricia left us with about, I do appreciate when somebody is really transparent about, this is my goal, this is my dream, this is my request, and they're prepared. And it is gratifying. It's absolutely gratifying. And, to be helpful, and to feel that you have value to somebody that's growing in their career is really fantastic. So I think for me, I also don't think of this as one directional. I want to understand the person I'm talking to, and I'll ask them as many questions as advice I have to give, and sometimes it's somebody who poses a lot of questions that's the most valuable. That the kind of whole discipline of like career coaching is about not answering the question. It's about, why is that your aspiration, and what have you done, and what are you doing next, and how is that going to help you? But I take my, daily challenges, and I'll talk to a student from the University of Chicago from China and say, this is our challenge. What would you do? What do you think? Because it helps me process the information. And I, when I've talked to early career or aspiring career individuals, I'm also just so impressed. They're sharp as a tack. When they're doing their homework, they've done their homework. So I can learn and grow from that experience, and they may have networks or skills or ideas that I've never thought of. So, I think to have the humility, to think it's not just, what I know and what I have to offer, folks, who are younger, are thinking about and approaching the world of work in a different way than I may be. And so, and I want to learn how to learn from that wisdom as well.
Thank you, David. Patricia, any thoughts on this question?
Yeah, I would just say, asking questions, but I don't want to repeat what David said because that was perfect. But I think it's also that's how we learn, right? Is making sure that we're saying, sharing your story, sharing your perspective is a way to really do that reverse mentoring. It's a young professional to, let's say, whether it's someone from the Gen X or even traditionalist generation, right? I think one thing that's of value for them is respect, right? So it's if we come and approach in a respectful manner, and asking them their question, they want to teach, right? They want to learn, is a way that we can open that conversation and provide the willingness for them to hear that young professional and their thoughts and their insights, right? That's all I'll add.
Thank you. Alfonso?
Definitely, when it comes to SCORE, I think it's the perfect example of that because, personally myself, I'm in my 40s, but I'm still 20 to 25 years younger than a lot of the mentors that make up our organization. So, and they're learning from us as much as we learn from them. And even today, we had a webinar with the city of Chicago with one of our mentors. He's 20 years old, and he's a mentor for SCORE. And we're learning from him because this is someone who has started, a multi-million-dollar business in his 20s, early 20s at that. But he knows something that a lot of our mentors don't know, which is, selling online, and he knows how to do it, and he's done it multiple times. So definitely, I that's one of the great things about SCORE and getting business mentorship is that we have made it so we through the time that I've been there, and under our executive director, so that we are more inclusive, and people that are open, they're open to different people, because we all have different thoughts. We all come from different backgrounds, and we have different knowledge that can make it different in what someone wants to do in life and with their business. So for sure, and that's if anything that could be a little bit intimidating about SCORE is that our mentors are they're 60 and 60 years old and above, but that's how you get that seasoned professional, that person who has done it already. But you'd be surprised how willing they are to help someone who wants to start a business, and more importantly, someone that's young and that has that hunger and that has that that thing inside of them that wants them to perhaps leave their 9 to 5 and then strike at it to go out on their own. We don't, personally myself, I don't promote side hustles too much, because when a side hustle should be temporary, but if you really want to make a go at it, it has to turn into a full-time job, a full-time profession when it comes to starting a business. And this is from an entrepreneur side. So, and our business mentors are a lot like that too, is that you really have to go in at it and go at it full force. But I think once you get over the fear of reaching out to someone that's different from you, you'd be surprised that there's so many people that are willing to help out. And like I had mentioned with SCORE, you have people that want to help, they want to help folks, young people that want to start businesses, because they want that life-changing experience to happen for them, like it did for the mentor.
Thank you for that, Alfonso. David, did you want to add something real quick? Yeah, go ahead.
Just one really quick thing. And after grandstanding so much about respect my time and come prepared, I will say generosity always pays off. So, because I've had folks come and ask for a lot, explain how you did this, explain how you did that. And man, you just don't know. People, the world is a mysterious place. People come back and now they're big executives, or they've got contacts, or they're at a foundation. Karma is just real. And I think, our culture really understands that. So just be generous, just because somebody's asking you, what's that secret, doesn't mean that they're going to steal it. It's if you can spark magic in them, they'll remember, and maybe they'll come back, and maybe they'll come back in different ways. So, I think it's good karma to do, and it works.
Thank you for that, David. Thank you, everyone. I think this has been an incredible conversation. I know I was taking notes from everything you all were sharing. I'm going to go ahead and close out with my question, but I want to encourage the audience to start putting in their questions in the chat box, so we can go ahead and get to the questions that you may have. So yeah, just for our panelists, I want to make sure the audience knows, if, especially for Patricia and Alfonso, given your, professional or associations, if there's any upcoming mixers or networking events that your organizations are going to be hosting, so how folks can get in touch with the organization, get in touch with you, potentially for mentorship opportunities, and again, for anything that your organizations may have, and how they can get in contact. And for David, I think you might have shared it in the chat box, but please, again, share in the chat box how folks can learn more a little bit about what your organization is doing to serve our community, and again, to get in touch with you. So we can go ahead and start with Patricia.
Sure. Yeah. So a couple of things. One is events that we have, and that, as you can imagine, are all virtual this year that you can engage with. And one of the upcoming events that I do want to highlight is our National Leadership Summit. It's taking place on April 21st and 22nd. And I just put the link to that page on the chat box. So this event, we're expecting over 1,000 throughout these 2 days. And it's an opportunity to engage in different panel discussions. There's networking opportunities. So the platform that we utilize pairs you up with someone new every 5 minutes when you go into the networking rooms. And then there's a lounge style rooms. So if you're familiar with a clubhouse, there's different topics going on. You can pop in and out and listen to the speakers. And this year, the theme, not only for this event, for all of our events and our programs, every year ASE comes up with a theme to ensure that it's embedded in the programs and the conversations. This year, it's We Lead at the Intersection of Identity, Equity, Unity. So identity is ensuring that we're sharing stories of our intersectional identities of the folks that are coming on and speaking, and really understanding that intersectionality, a term that was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, really helps us understand that the multi-layers of identities that we each have either creates a layer of further oppression, and in her case was talking about Black women, or further creates opportunities of privilege, right? Whether I'm considered a white-skinned Latina, a Black-skinned Latina would have, face different challenges than I would face, for example. So that's the term of intersectionality. The equity piece is about not only organizations talking about what structures and processes are they looking at internally to ensure that they're providing equitable opportunities, resources for folks to advance, but also as we as individuals, how are we advocating for ourselves, ensuring that we're doing our part to build the equitable resource and opportunities for ourselves within the organizations, the businesses that we represent. And then the unity is around allyship. So not just, we always say we're a Latino serving organization, but we're not Latino exclusive, right? Well, how are we supporting other organizations, whether it be the Black, LGBTQ, white community, and coming together towards the common mission of building more inclusive and equitable spaces, workplaces, and environments. And so I sent you the link for the summit. I hope you can join us. If you use the code WELEAD, you'll get a complimentary ticket. So no excuse for anybody to join us here. And then just this morning, we had one of our board members talk about the identity pillar, Rocio Garcia, who identifies as part of the LGBTQ community. She joined us for our weekly series, Cafecito con ACE. So if you go to our LinkedIn or Facebook pages, you'll get to catch that video conversation with her and how she leads with her identity in the workplaces and other spaces that she represents as well. And in addition to events, we have formal leadership programs. So whether it's our Mujeres de ACE, Women's Leadership, our emerging leaders, these are cohort-based programs that we work with a group of 15 to 20 or so individuals at a time through coaching, mentoring, culturally relevant content to help individuals get to that next level in their career. And so all of that can be found on our website, but those are a couple of ways that we've been providing resources to folks that join us, and it's free to become a member if you go to the site.
Alfonso?
Sure. Next we have our and I put it in the chat box. We have our entrepreneurs and sales professionals virtual networking. So that would be April 14th. At 3 p.m. from 3 p.m. to 4:30. So we have Kenya Merritt, who is a chief small business officer for the city of Chicago. She'll be participating, and also Vincent Williams, who is the executive director of the Chicago Minority Business Council. So he will be participating as well. After that, we have our Cinco de Mayo networking celebration. So that's going to be an in-person event. So that will be our first in-person event of the year. I put the information also in the chat box, and we're following all the rules and regulations of the city and the state, and we are excited to see people back in person. So after that, we do quarterly ERG events that we've been doing them for the last year with the companies that are corporate sponsors of ours. And their employees, but we're going to start opening those up to individuals. So we'll have more information on that coming out. We had our last one just earlier this month, and it was great. But now I think we should share those opportunities for people to connect with folks that are in employee retention groups within their within companies that they might want to go work for. So we're going to do that. So yeah, and all the programming that we have, you'll see it on HispanicPro.com, and we'll be putting up more information in regards to what we have planned. So we'll launching in Los Angeles mid-summer. So we're excited for that, and that is we have to be, we have to follow the rules and how everything when it comes to COVID, but we're excited to we have quite a bit of following on the West Coast now. So, and we're looking forward to being out there. And so if anyone, once we put the information, if you want to join us out in Hollywood, we'll be out there.
Thank you, Alfonso and David. I know we have a lot of questions in the chat box, so can't wait to get to them.
Yeah, I actually want to answer Jerome's question about like the question about like if somebody's interested in being a CEO in the nonprofit sector, kind of how to approach that question. My favorite question for interviewing individuals I'm meeting, in a job setting and mentorship is just tell me your journey, your career journey. Just start as early as possible. And I think you learn so much about what people emphasize and how they narrate the story of their career and how they talk about the transitions between different opportunities and what they emphasize, what they learn from each experience, what they found gratifying or satisfying or not satisfying. I think that, and I think every career is a mix of, what you bring, skills, luck, connections, opportunity, timing. And so, and there's not one journey, I think there's, and so that question is the one that I find most gratifying in terms of just getting a sense of how somebody, got to be, head of ASE or World Business Chicago or wherever you land. And it's a good one actually for interviewing as well.
Thank you for that, David. Yeah,
Jazmin,
so again, Monday.
I just want to add quickly that I put in the link for chicago.score.org for where their events are at, because we have tons of workshops on there that they're ongoing. So if you sign up to the newsletter for Score Chicago, then you'll get all those workshops. And we're a little bit notorious for sending out a lot of emails, but we have over 200 participants for every workshop that we do. So and these are from people, the thought leaders and the people that put together these webinars. The information is invaluable, and it's for the most part free, and if not at a very low cost.
Thank you for that, Alfonso. Yeah, I have to definitely make a shameless plug for chibishub.com, because you can get in touch with SCORE and over 180 different resource providers around the Chicago area that have similar programming for you, or actually tailored programming for you if you're LGBTQ identifying, women identifying, male identifying, what have you, veterans. Everything is on the hub. So I'll go ahead and make sure to put that information on there. I don't want to miss questions, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with one here from our guest. They are currently a student at the University of Michigan, first generation, and they are asking any advice on how to take full advantage of their college experience and prepare for professional life afterwards. Perhaps Patricia could take this one, because I feel like it's so tied with the folks that are part of ASE.
I just have to tell you, Victor, I love your question. Thank you for that. I think, my college experience, I didn't realize then, has really shaped a lot as to my professional career. And one of the reasons being is I was super involved on whether you're on campus or with clubs, with organizations. So much so even, I started a Latin dance club. And this is all the while, I could imagine, as most college students, working multiple jobs, right? To not only help pay for college, but also just, be able to take it and, your studies and all of that. So if there's not a club or an association that you identify with, then bring it to campus. And if there are, be a leader of that. It gives you that practice to start your leadership skills and capabilities as an undergrad. I even looked for internship opportunities. There's AmeriCorps, or at Indiana University where I did my undergrad, there's Advocate for Community Engagement. And I was able to get an AmeriCorps grant to help co-found a nonprofit in the community of Bloomington, Indiana, called El Centro Comunal Latino. It was a partnership with not only this grant, but with the city of Bloomington and now the business community. And so it was my first hands-on experience in really doing partnerships, building revenue to what I'm doing today, even though I didn't realize it then. And so that would be my recommendation and advice. And happy to connect with you, Victor, if you have any questions.
Thank you for that, Patricia. I feel like I talked about Chibas Hub like I've talked about it before, but again, it's an online portal for a small business community where you can find tons of resources. I see one of the questions was specifically for our construction industry. And so Chibas Hub is a portal that's designed for all the industries in the city of Chicago. So you go down in the drop-down menu, you can put in the industry you're in, the business stage, if you're looking for mentorship or if you're looking for access to capital, whatever you need, and it narrows down the search. Put in your zip code and it narrows it down even more. So you can find more resources there outside of also Score Chicago, which you can also find on there. I see a lot of folks also shooting their shots for mentorship opportunities, so that's amazing. And I believe Jeremy has put in the information if you're interested on adding your business to the chamber, you can go ahead and email him. And I'm pretty sure you don't have to be in the specific site of Chicago, but Jeremy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I got that on personal email.
I wanted to add to what Patricia said. Earlier, also don't be afraid to venture off campus. I actually I've helped students that come from Wisconsin, Indiana, from Michigan that see the events that we post on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or they find their way to the HispanicPro website, and I've helped them out because I'm like, wow, you made that effort to travel from another state to come to Chicago to attend one of our networking events. I'm going to help you out. And so always have that courage to go out there and mix and mingle with people that are older than you. You'd be surprised how the connections that you're going to make, and people genuinely want, because when you're a student, that's your job. So working professionals want to help you out because you do have a job, and that's your being a student. But I think they're less likely to help someone who that's out of work. But because it's a harder commitment to help someone out who is in transition. But someone who is a student, you want to help them out because it's like, you know what, they're putting a foot forward and doing something for themselves. I think that's courageous, and I've had to do those things. I raised money for organizations that I was a part of while I was a student at DePaul, and I was making asks of 10, 15, 20, 40, $50,000. And I didn't know the first thing about, I definitely knew the business side, but I didn't know anything about non-for-profits and how to approach it from that point of view. But surprisingly, I was able to get the sell because I always thought of it that I was selling something, and then I got the sell. So, but yeah, putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, you'd be surprised at the positive results that you're going to get from that.
Thank you, Alfonso. I have a pretty lengthy question here, and I do want to give it justice. So I know one of our guests is talking about, discrimination and kind of, experiencing discrimination when trying to interpret or do business with the Latino community as a white cisgender man. So we can talk about, I know our guest, our panelists reference how some of the connections you might make is because you already have connections with the community. So talked about what advice you have with when engaging with the Latino community, perhaps some tips to break down stereotypes.
I can take a stab at this. I think like in life, 90% is showing up, and I mean, this question really reminded me of the late Larry Mckeon. He was the first openly gay, openly HIV positive state representative who served as LGBT liaison for the city of Chicago. And he was beloved in all communities. And he was beloved by Alma when I was part of Alma. And he showed up at everyone's events. So if there was a lot, he marched with Alma at the first openly gay contingent in the Mexican Independence Day Parade. He showed up, and he showed true allyship. And so, and it was genuine, and he wasn't asking for anything. He was contributing. He's like, you have an event, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be there and just see what you need. And so that, that genuine offer of being supportive of the organizations in the LGBT community and others was his brand, and it worked, and I think that's that goes, yes, I think we're all kind of predisposed to gravitate to people like us. So yes, I'll go to the people that I know, people in the LGBT community, people in the Latino community. But man, when people show up and they show genuine interest in the work that I'm doing, I'll caucus with anyone.
Thank you, Alfonso or Patricia. Want to have anything else to add? I believe I don't see any more questions, so we'll be wrapping up soon.
Patricia, if you want to go?
Yeah, no, I would just say we have us as obviously Latinx serving, but we have a lot of non-Latinos either, involved in our programs, attending our events. And so to David's point, right, it's that's helped a lot. I would say if they're looking for connections or opportunities, we consider them part of the ASE Familia, right? So we're going to help them out. So I definitely think that's what I'd echo what David mentioned to that point. And then just maybe doing like one-on-one, if asking questions, if those that perhaps are in those circles and getting their advice. And I think, again, you can never go wrong with asking and just like you did right now. So.
I would add just, when it comes to for HispanicPro, I mean, we're welcoming of everyone, and and we are Hispanic focused, but we're people focused. We do want to help you. We do want to help you make that connection, and but you have to do some of the work, in the sense of putting yourself in that position where you will ask someone for make an introduction of yourself to that person and sell yourself. Do that 30-second pitch, that 1-minute pitch about you, your business, what you do, where you came from, what are your skills. I mean, we all have to do that. So and then also, when it comes to SCORE, we are welcoming of everyone as well. I mean, we want to see people thrive, and we want to see them succeed when it comes to starting a business, and that's one of the things that we are very proud of. I mean, just last year in 2020, during the pandemic, 300 businesses were started because of people that came to SCORE, and also 412 jobs were created. And we had people that sought our services out, and we provided 4,744 mentoring sessions. So it's just I think that putting yourself out there, and putting yourself out there, and not feeling and maybe it's even being in a vulnerable, it feels that you're in a vulnerable position, right? Because you're asking someone, but we all have to do it. I do it even now, and knowing having the connections that I have, and knowing the people that I know, and I don't say that to sound cocky in any way, but I still have to sing for my supper many times. So but I don't mind doing it, because it doesn't it lets me sharpen my skills, right? And there's things that I still learn even today. So we're always learning. It never stops. It definitely never stops. And when it comes to that reverse mentoring, believe me, I know people that are into their 60s and 70s that are learning from young people, and it's incredible that because of right now everything is virtual that with what we do. So you have people that are in their 70s, and they're all virtual. And when we used to meet in person, it was surprising how people that are some of the business mentors they have the top of the line Macs, and they're big into technology because it's made their life easier. So, but they're also learning about things like e-commerce and things that might be foreign because that wasn't the way that they did business when they were in business, but they're still eager wanting to learn more. So learning never stops, and that doesn't, regardless of how much experience you have in your industry, in your profession, and you should always just be asking for more information, but also again, be prepared for that opportunity.
All right. Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time and just thank our panelists. This was an incredible conversation to have with you all. I know you shared a lot of knowledge. We see it in the chat box that everyone is super grateful for this. Thank you, Jeremy, and the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce of Illinois for the invitation. Again, I put in my information in the chat box as well. If you want to be connected to resources as a small business owner or aspiring entrepreneur, I'm here to help you. So via email or LinkedIn. And if you want to join the chamber, you can definitely email Jeremy and he can put you in touch with that. So thanks everyone. And I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you, Jazmin. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Jazmin,
Bye-bye.
Jeremy, and everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.